Hi, Jens, back again. Thought I would do another question with the quadratic formula, just to show you that you can, well, let's take a look at this decimal question and then we can work through it. So I wrote it up here again, right? If you have an expression, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, then you know that x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So the question asked us to find the x-intercept. So once again, I know that when I have an x-intercept, right, whatever it is, a, that my y is going to be 0. So whenever I have an x-intercept, I know that my y is 0. So I'm going to go ahead and replace y with 0. And then I get 0.09 x squared minus 0.3x plus 0.25. So I can make my A 0.09, and I can make my B 0.3, and I can make my C 0.25. But then I'm working with decimals, and sometimes it's easier not to work with decimals. So because it's an equation, if you remember what you do to one side of the equation, you can do to the other. I'm going to go ahead and multiply to get rid of the decimal. So if I multiply by 10, I'd have 0.9, and if I multiply by 100, I'd have 9. So let's go ahead and take this whole thing and multiply by 100. So 100 times 0 is 0. 100 times 0.09 is 9. 100 times negative 0.3 is 30. And 100 times 0.25 is 25. Okay, and I've just gone ahead and done this because I find it easier to not work with decimals. We could have left it like that and we would have gotten the exact same answer. Okay, so now I know my A is 9. I know my B, it's always in front of the x, negative 30, and I know my C is 25. So A is 9, it's a number in front of the x squared. B is negative 30, it's a number in front of the x, and C is 25. So I'm going to go ahead now and replace A, B, and C in the formula with A, B, and C right here. So x is equal to negative, now this is a negative, so I have two negatives, right? So it's negative, but B is negative, so I have negative 30, plus or minus the square root of negative 30 squared. Be really careful when you have a negative number. It needs to go in brackets, because if you don't have it in brackets, it would equal negative 900. By putting the bracket, you're saying it's negative 30 times negative 30. Okay? Minus 4 times A, which is 9, times C, which is 25. And all of this is over 2 times A, which is 9. So I can go ahead, negative and a negative become a positive, so I have positive 30 plus or minus the square root. So I'm going to go ahead and use my calculator. So I'm going to use the brackets because it's negative 30 squared. So I'm going to do negative 30 squared minus 4 times 9 times 25. And I get 0. And then that is all over 18. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and break that apart. So when I break it apart, I would have, well, actually before I break it apart, if I add or subtract 0, I have this 30 plus or minus the square root of 0 is just a 0, all over 18. Okay? Anything time you add or subtract 0, right? If I took a look here, 30 plus 0, I get 30. 30 minus 0, I get 30. So I can actually just rewrite this as 30 over 18, which is equal to 5 over 3. So this is now my exact, okay? If I wanted to write it as an approximate, I would do 5 divided by 3, which is 1.67. So this would be my approximate answer. So I just want to be really careful and make sure that I'm doing what the question asks. So there you go.